Welcome, everyone, to Turn-Based Memories, the greatest show in the history of shows. It's all about the JRPGs. I'm your host, the legendary Zoltan, and for today's episode, I have asked my co-host Mel to play Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Tales of Vesperia first came out in the summer of 2008 on the Xbox 360 in Japan and America, and a year later in Australia and Europe. Then Japan got a PS3 version, which had additional story scenes, side quests, and costumes. The West never got this version because I don't know why. But now in 2019, we have Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. It's an English localization of the PS3 version that includes the Japanese voices and upscales the graphics for the PC and the PS4. As is typical of the Turn-Based Memories format, Vesperia is a game that I've loved for a long time now, and Mel has just played for the first time. It is my hope that he will see what I see in this game. So what do I see in this game? I see one of the most thoroughly told stories set in one of the most fleshed out worlds, inhabited by some of the most charming characters, with some of the best Japanese voice acting in JRPGs. It's got a solid enough battle system with a crazy skill system and a million secrets and side quests. I know that Mel goes more for turn-based battles than action-y ones, so what's he gonna think about this one? It all depends on how willing he is to explore the system, I think. In the beginning, it's just going to seem like a mindless button mash, but once you've acquired lots of skills and characters, that's when you can start to notice that there are lots of possibilities. But you really have to take your time and experiment to find the satisfying stuff, or, just look on the internet. And for a busy guy like Mel, that seems unlikely to happen. So he probably thought the battle and skill systems were just alright. The true strength of Tales of Vesperia, in my eyes, is the characters. And this is coming from a gameplay first, story second kind of guy. Yuri fucking Lowell. This guy are sick. There are a lot of badasses in RPGs, but this guy's personality is just too cool to be true. And yet, the things he accomplishes somehow seem believable to me. And it's all made possible by one thing: the Japanese voice actor. It sets my heart aflutter to watch Yuri act like a total asshole to this random dude on the street who is being mercilessly victimized by the mayor of his city. Only for Yuri to just, turn around and just hand over an item that we went on an hour-long side quest to obtain because we need it to make progress on our current mission in order to save the dude's life. And when his party members are like, dude, what are we gonna do now? We just gave away the thing that we needed. Yuri's like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just find another way. Badass. That's where a lot of the conflict comes from, because Yuri's other way is usually breaking the law, and his best friend is a knight captain. Yuri and his friend Flynn get into a lot of heated arguments, and this is where the voice acting shines the brightest. I told Mel to check out the Japanese voices. My question to him during the conversation segment will be whether he went Jap and never went back, or if he actually preferred the English voices. As a person who understands Japanese, I can tell you that the J voices are vastly superior to the English ones. I wonder if Mel could feel the voices, since he wouldn't be able to understand them. I checked out the English voices on multiple occasions, and they are terrible by comparison. How did Mel find the exploration? I find this to be a big deal in RPGs these days. If you aren't going to make it worth my while with beautiful environments, worthwhile treasure chests, and satisfying level design, why not just make it a linear side-scroller? I was pretty happy with what we got. The treasure chests very often contain equipment upgrades. I appreciate that. The areas look really nice, not just because of the art, but because of the pre-programmed camera angles. Thank you. I swear, I've never played a game with a free camera that wouldn't have been better with a set camera. And the dungeon designs are mostly satisfying to me, except for the fact that every dungeon has items that you can't get until the end of the game. So you have to go back to every area again. I can't wait until Mel finally plays Alundra so he can see what truly impressively designed dungeons feel like. Some of the areas have more branching paths than one might prefer, but overall, I think they feel good to explore. Really, the biggest thing Tales of Vesperia has going against it is the same problem that nearly all RPGs have, and that's all the abrupt interruptions. It feels nice to run through the verdant hills looking for treasure chests until you touch an animal, and the screen shatters and the music cuts out and switches to the battle track. I know they designed the game to transition to separate battle arenas from the field maps, but they could make it much less jarring by just not changing the battle music to the battle music and also removing the screen shatter and reducing the load times. I mean, they're on new technology. It's the definitive edition. Why didn't they fix that? Ugh. I hope Mel enjoyed his first taste of the Tales series. This is one of the most popular Tales games, and I can see why. Great graphics, beautiful world, badass character, epic story, tons of things to do, solid character progression. I can't wait to find out what Mel did on his playthrough. So without further ado, let's hear from the man himself, what he thought of Tales of Vesperia.
So we launch ourselves from perhaps one of the darkest, quietest, grimmest RPGs on our playlist right into one of the lightest and most colorful ones. It was a bit of a mental adjustment for sure. I took this assignment from Zoltan with some reservation, not that I let him know beforehand, because I had tried to play one of the Tales games before. Tales of Symphonia, the 2003 GameCube release, was my first exposure to the series, and I have to come clean. It wasn't a good time for me. I managed to get about halfway through that game right around when the game world opened up, and then I just dropped out. Mind you, this was in a time when I was in high school and had no job, and had all the time that school would allow for me to just soak up any game. If this was a game I could like, I would have. Turns out, I hate most real-time combat games. I've softened on this stance a lot over the years, but my heart will always belong to turn-based gameplay. And shit, it's the name of the channel. Also, I wasn't very happy about Symphonia's deeply anime aesthetic. Same story, I used to really dislike a lot of anime tropes, and I learned to appreciate it more over time, but I don't quite still love that stuff. This all means that Tales of Vesperia, one in a series of games that are all pretty similar from what I can tell, is not really shaping up to be my cup of tea. Let's see. Combat. I never felt fully in control. I know it's an RPG and not an action game, but these real-time systems really feel like the worst of both worlds. Not as strategic as a turn-based game, and not as satisfying as a normal action title. I found it was straight up missing or not using certain mechanics hours into the game because I was never informed about them, even in the tutorials, about how some of the art systems work. I was relying on just the shortcut right control stick instead of also pressing A and the direction, because according to the way the menus looked, you couldn't assign both, or you could, and I couldn't tell what the difference was. And then I didn't realize until even later on that you can assign shortcuts from other characters other than the one that you're currently controlling. Pressing up to jump was a colossal pain. All it ever did was result in missed inputs. I never once felt like I needed to actually jump in combat. And the overlimit system, if I'm remembering the name correctly, felt like a half-baked super move mechanic. It didn't quite deliver more power or anything interesting for your character to do. It just meant you could act quicker for a short amount of time and you would burn through all your MP. And then the ally AI was also too inflexible, making me pine for another playthrough of Final Fantasy XII and its gambit system. So that didn't go too well. Now on to the story. A story of a man seeking to repair his town's sewer system only to stumble upon the fate of the world. That is literally the setup. Hey, I'm all for fun and dumb anime stuff these days, and Vesperia does make a play at some deeper ideas, with Yuri taking people's lives into his own hands in decidedly grim ways. But the rest of the cast felt thin in background and motive. The world building also felt thin, in a way that I suppose you're not meant to think too much about, but the finer details of what all these wacky fictional nouns are supposed to be, it just sort of eluded me in a frustrating way. What is Blastia? They don't bother to tell you until about 30 hours or more in. And then they only kind of vaguely tell you, well, they're just crystals of some kind. They got formulas scratched into them. They never really show you what these things are, and they come in so many different forms and shapes and sizes. And for something so central to the game's plot and gameplay, I felt like I didn't even know what characters we're talking about half the time. As for the music, it's very forgettable because as I write this script, I couldn't recall a single track fully. But I also don't recall not liking any of the music. I guess serviceable is the operative term here. The bottom line was I found moments of interest in the plot when things picked up. I found the combat to lean uncertainly in and out of being fun, but overall, this was the same experience I felt I had with Symphonia 16 years ago. I didn't finish that game. I'm afraid I didn't finish this one. Over 30 hours on the clock and still no change in my general opinion. I think we know where this is headed, and I think I gave it a fair shot, too.
All right, welcome to the third segment of Turn-Based Memories, Tales of Memories. Turn-Based Memories, episode, what is this, 14? Yes.
14.
Yep, where we are talking about Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. My man Mel is here. He just finished, he just played it for the first time over the past month or so. And I'm a little bit embarrassed now because, man, I said, this is good and this is good about it. And then he comes on like, this and this is bad about it. It's like the opposite. But anyway. First question. So let's get the simple stuff out of the way. The stuff I don't even need to ask because of your segment. Because you just I had all these questions and then I heard your segment and I'm like, okay, not going to ask that, not going to ask that. So don't need to ask about how the shopping was. Who cares? It was all right. Did you find any of the many side quests in the game? Probably almost none of them. Who cares? And we both have the same opinion of the music, that it's kind of forgettable. I agree. It's just serviceable, right?
Yeah, I was going to say if maybe we should start on maybe one of the areas that we probably both agree on is that I couldn't recall in my head any single, maybe bits and pieces, but it was all very, serviceable, and I didn't hate it. I wasn't, cursing the music at any point.
Yeah.
But it fell right out of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a few songs that I can still. I guess really the only reason I remember them so well is because you hear them often. For example, the last world map song that you hear, because the world map song changes like 3 times or so throughout the game. And the final one, which I don't think you heard, I like that one kind of a lot. But maybe only because I heard it over and over again.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I do appreciate, even though it's still in the end, the overall effect was not really anything great, I do kind of appreciate that they recorded that they have multiple main battle themes, like I thing. So like you start off with that one guitar song, but then like 30 or 20 or so hours in, there's a new guitar song to replace it.
Well, I noticed there's like one for like normal encounters, one for slightly stronger encounters, one for like I noticed when I was running up against an enemy that was like those like big side quest enemies that you're not supposed to fight right away.
Yeah.
There's a different track for that.
There is, yeah, kind of a boss track of sorts.
That was usually my clue.
Yeah. So they're like that's one of the good things about Motoi Sakuraba, if you can stand his music, and a lot of people can't, but he does deliver on quantity for sure. And man, yeah, he does. At least there's the quantity. So like 3 or 4 boss tracks, and you may not have noticed it, but there are like 3 or 4 just regular weakest enemy battle themes also. Like it changes throughout. And once you get to the end of the game, you don't even hear the first battle theme anymore.
It won the most music award.
The most music. Not the most popular, just the most.
Yeah, just the most.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, on a bit of a tangent, are there any Motoi Sakuraba soundtracks you really like? I mean, that other game we played had Motoi Sakuraba. Baten Kaito's Origins had Motoi Sakuraba. What did you think of that one, for example?
So, right. I remember he did the original, too.
Yes.
Baten Kaito's, not just Origins, right?
That's right.
I remember liking those. They do kind of mush together in that way. Yeah. I don't know that I, like, maybe parts of tracks I've liked, but I couldn't tell you I've ever gone back and listened to any of his stuff, unless I'm just not aware that it was his, and maybe I was listening to like a remix of it or something, but
there's that one.
Not particularly.
Oh, there was that one organ track that you sent me a YouTube video of that you said you liked
from Baten Kaito's. Yeah.
Yeah.
It lasts like 10 seconds though.
Yeah. And when I heard it, and this agrees with what you just said, there's like a song that sounds almost exactly like it in like Star Ocean 4, for example. There's another song that sounds almost exactly like it in Star Ocean 3. So it's like, he kind of reminds me of one of those, just a classical musician from the classical era, I guess, where,
I suppose.
I mean, in the way he never wrote a song as famous as freaking, da-da-da-dun or anything like that. But, just like Bach, he's written like 5 kabillion songs, and then like 10 of them are really good.
Yeah, that guy did a whole bunch. I've been listening to a lot of Bach, but that's besides the point. I feel like I could write a battle theme of his. Like I could just make up sounds that would sound like it, and just like that's a Sakuraba soundtrack there, just like like there you go.
You can write it in your head, or could you actually write music?
No, I can't write music. I'm just thinking it in my head.
Yeah, you can imagine in your mind an original song and say that sounds just like him. Yeah. All right. So yeah, but on from the music, it wasn't that great. It was okay. It's vanilla. I heard this guy say about Motoi Sakuraba on the Overclocked Remix forums way back when it was very, very popular, and I was getting into it just in the beginning myself. And back then, I was a bit of a fanboy for Motoi Sakuraba, and I didn't agree with this at the time, but now I do. His Star Ocean stuff and his Valkyrie Profile stuff is his most inspired stuff, and it's like the hit stuff, and then there's the miss stuff, which like his Tales music is what he said specifically. Tales music is very quote-unquote vanilla, says a guy on OC Remix. And I agree. It's just super vanilla. It doesn't stand out.
Yeah. It's not an offensive thing. It just doesn't stand out.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then we have some other just quick little things before we get to the deep stuff. How far did you get in the game? Because you said like 30 hours, which is more than I got on freaking the game that I was supposed to play before. Shin Megami Tensei.
Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne.
Yeah, I think I only got like 25, so sorry.
Yeah, that was a tough game to truck through. I had a hard time, and I think I was enjoying it probably a lot more than you were. But this game, I got about 30, if Steam is to be believed, 32 hours. And I got up to Bakshin, so I had gone back to Jormungand. I believe Commandant Alexei had more or less just turned on us as a bad guy. I had discovered like what the Apathia are, and like the world building was starting to happen that many hours in, I guess. And it was kind of coming together in a way. I was like, I bet this is this. It is. I bet that is that. It kind of is. And so it wasn't coming together in a way that felt compelling to me, and the way the characters were sort of staged and built up, I guess, is getting to some of your later questions, but none of that seemed to be growing in directions that I was like intrigued by too much outside of Yuri. He was the one character I think I had any kind of like, what's he going to do next? Yeah. But every time he did something interesting, I felt like one of the other characters came along and made it boring somehow.
Okay. Just to get that far, just out of curiosity, what did you set the difficulty mode on? Because you could change it mid-game.
You can change it mid-fucking game, right. I had to do that once because you probably know what the boss fight is.
Oh my god, it's in that freaking forest in the beginning of the game, right?
Yeah, it's this dog, whatever it's called. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a dog, giant dog. Yeah. And
oh my god.
It's way harder than anything else you will fight for the rest of the game. Yeah. At least up to the point that I was at.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That is a ridiculous, and I grinded a bit before it because I knew it was coming, and still I was like, Jesus freaking Christ. It is just the prime example, the golden standard of difficulty spikes.
Oof, it was really bad. Like, I thought at that point, I was like, all right, what am I doing wrong? The game can't possibly be this hard. I gotta be doing something. And I was looking. I was like, I'm doing everything I can. There's nothing else I'm missing. Yeah. And
that battle is just that hard.
It really is. To the game's credit, it did make me kind of like look closer at the battle system than I was. And I did notice a few things that I was like glossing over without realizing, but it wasn't like the game still has a lot to go, has a lot to open up and give you access to. So it was a combination of not having a lot of tools, not having a lot of experience. Yeah. Because apparently it's not terribly difficult if you really know what you're doing.
I guess so.
I guess that's what I kept reading. It's like, once you do this, this, and this, it's not hard. Like, all right, I don't know what that means. And,
okay. I guess you were supposed to. I'm sorry, you got it?
By total chance.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that secret mission, I guess that's what you're supposed to do to beat him, is just use those flowers over and over again. Didn't make it easier.
He knocked him down for like 2 seconds and got a couple extra hits in, but he's got so much health and he runs around so damn fast. Yeah. Like, it really made me, like, that's when I was like, oh, buddy, I don't know if I have this in me. Like, I almost quit right there. But then I read, no, this is really a hard part. Everyone trips up. This is, I was like, okay, it's not me. The game's being a dick right now. Let me power through it. And I got through it.
So
I did lower the difficulty to easy just for that.
I see, yeah.
I raised it back up actually a little while afterward because the game was like boring me to tears.
Oh, no.
Because I not that long, maybe 1 hour after the fight, I was like, maybe I'll just play it on easy if it's going to do this, you know. And then I realized I was like no special moves whatsoever, just just killing everything.
I was like,
all right, let me try throwing it back up to normal. Okay, now I have to worry about how to play. That's fine. I can do that.
They do kind of like reward you in a way and make a big deal out of that difficulty spike, because right after that you walk up to this gigantic cliff and see like the whole world and the horizon and have one of those the world is gigantic moments in the game. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do remember that scene.
So So I thought that was kind of nice.
There were a couple battles, or at least one battle that you were supposed to lose. I think against the Don,
I
the
so
Union Don.
yeah, so
Whatever his name was.
I think on a normal playthrough you wouldn't beat him because I think when I used like the magic lens on him, and it said it said like the level. I think it was like level freaking. I think like level 70 or something, which is
I
like
think it's for New Game Plus. I think that was the idea.
exactly.
You're supposed to play it. Yeah.
Okay, so you found out that this game has New Game Plus, did you?
Yeah, I read that after realizing I was supposed to lose that battle because I lost that fight or I was losing like
Yeah.
badly. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So I just checked real quick. I was like, is this going the way it's supposed to go? I don't have time to dick around here. And sure enough, yeah, you're supposed to lose the fight.
Okay, yeah. And then, yeah, you can totally destroy him on New Game Plus if you do some stuff. Okay, we'll talk about that in a little bit. How was the... Well, no, while we're just on the subject of New Game Plus, did you ever find out what the grade is for? It's kind of amazing, in my opinion.
So when you win a fight, like every fight has a grade, that's what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. You noticed it, right?
I noticed, but I couldn't have told. I buttoned through the ending of the battles like constantly. I know you're supposed to like also cook and
Yeah.
maybe do whatever else at the end, but I usually didn't do that. I usually just button through.
Okay, but did you not like notice that when you press the triangle button, it says like grade detail, and then you push it, and it gives you points for this, and that didn't intrigue you at all? Because I was into that.
I must have noticed that once and then forgotten that it was doing anything, or didn't think it really was anything important. Does it lead towards something else? I guess
It does, kind of a cool thing. One of the coolest things, in my opinion. So it's an alternate take on the whole New Game Plus mechanic, and that is you don't get everything on New Game Plus, but you can get everything if you have enough grade to spend on it in the grade shop
Oh.
that you go shopping in right before you start New Game Plus. And to get so it's crazy. So you can use it's one of the coolest things is the end game and the starting a new game in the Tales of Vesperia is kind of one of the coolest things if you could have liked it to that far anyway. Because it's like, you know, depending on what you want to spend grade points on or whatever, it's like unlock new costumes for every character. Okay, whatever. Unlock all the skits. Okay, fine. If you want to read them all or watch them all or get the trophy, fine. Carry over all your items. Yeah, okay, whatever. I thought I was going to get that anyway. Carry over all your gold, carry over all your levels, carry over all your equipment. Okay, that's all great. But then there's some more crazy stuff, like, for example, 10 times the experience points in the New Game Plus. Double the gold. Instead of holding only 15 of each item, hold 99 of every item.
Oh, fuck that. What was with that lower item cap? Oh, my God.
Well, what? Oh, you wanted more healing items then?
I guess. No, in hindsight, I think it was actually not a bad thing. At the time, I was like, man, I can only hold 15 of these damn gummies. But, no, I guess it made sense. Otherwise, I would have just, like, money really wasn't much of an object in that game. I had enough money. I could have bought 99 of those damn gummies whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
But the game was just like, no.
Totally. Well, maybe it'd be too easy, right? I mean...
You're right. Yeah.
Especially, you know, you can set the AI. I know you didn't like the AI, but you could set the AI to like use items and stuff on you all the freaking time in the strategy menu or whatever. So,
was there a deeper way to customize exactly what your allies did?
It goes as deep as you go into the strategy portion of the menu, and you see like you can set the different, like the moderate strategy and then if you go highlight one of those and you push like the square button or whatever button it is for you, you can edit what moderate actually does each character individually.
I think I did look at that, but I don't recall if like so you can go like real granular with it and get like how often they use a certain item.
Fairly granular, not how often, but for example, you can set each individual character to say, for example, there's like an item section, and you can set to either up to you, which is interesting, or watch HP, which means they'll use an HP healing item when you get low, watch TP, which means they'll use a TP healing item when you get low, or condition, which means if you get like paralyzed, they'll unparalyze you.
Sure.
And for I think most of you just leave it up to you, they'll all just use all of them. So there's that. But I like to go ahead and specialize. Okay, you're the TP person, you're the paralysis person, and you're the HP person. I like to do that.
I usually threw it on moderate, probably with whatever was on by default, and then I'd switch it to save TP like for normal battles, because then I realized like I was blowing through TP really quick.
Yeah, they do.
Having not enough for boss battles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so what I was doing was just setting everybody to use only 25% of their technical points. And then, like, I would also set them to, like, you can set how much HP... I'm sorry, you can set for when you want them to run away from the enemy. So they'll walk right up to the enemy and start slashing them in their, not terribly efficient way. They hit like twice and then step back and then twice and step back kind of thing, but whatever. But then if you can set it to be like, okay, if you get below 25% HP, run away from them, like get far away. So that you can set it between never run away or 25 or 50 or 75% or whatever. So there's things like that you can set.
All right.
So there's several settings, and you can do a lot with them. Not as much as the best thing ever, which is Final Fantasy 12, best AI system in all of freaking RPGs. But it's not bad, I would say.
Okay, it looks like there may have been a little more depth there. The thing that always bugs me with AI in role-playing games or games in general is I always feel like there's like this weird vagueness to it where I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen when, and a lot of it's sort of up to like the whim of the behind-the-scenes programming.
So you want to be able to control all the characters, which is one of the reasons.
It's the if-then statement of the Gambit system. You know exactly to the HP point that your characters are going to do certain things.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then also the way that combat system worked is that things like positioning weren't as critical and other things. So in a game like this, the free running mechanic was a big deal. If you did or didn't do that, made the difference of how much damage you were going to take. So spacing is a big thing. I guess that's hard to put in a system like that, a Gambit system like that. But
maybe.
That's just something they didn't really have to worry about. In a game like this, it did. So it was more generalized. It worked well enough. I wasn't like losing because of the way I had the AI set. I just kind of figured, well, I'm going to do as well as I can do, and every once in a while, I seem to have to remind them to revive me because they just wouldn't. Huh. Yeah. Or another character, they'd start attacking. I'm like, just spend the damn life bottle on that guy. Just do it now.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really didn't have to get hands on. Although, I guess I have a question for you. When playing this combat system, what character did you tend to play as, or did you change that a lot?
Not much. I checked out Judith a little bit because I like her aerial combat thing. But it's kind of crazy where you change to a different character and all of a sudden it's like a whole new world of gameplay, right? Which is impressive, I would say. But it's also, it's like you have to learn it all over again, how to use them well. So the easy people to use are, of course, Yuri and Rita. Her magic is insane. So I used them too, but mostly Yuri, right?
Yeah, me too. I felt like I just felt like his attacks were fast enough to the point where you were actually doing what you had to do.
Yeah.
And I put on the accessory that gives him 4 normal attacks in a row.
Oh, good.
And then that way I could stun lock them and then do a really like protracted special move so that by the time I was done beating them up, someone else started. And just let that roll until the guy died. Because everything in this game has 1 billion health, apparently.
Yeah, kind of too much health, I agree.
You really are beating up on this little, like, walking potato for, like, half an hour before it decides to die. Like, oh, my God. Everything just doesn't die in this game.
Yeah, so if you keep going, like, all the way to the end, or even, like, if you just get to, say, like, the 60-hour mark, you'll start getting weapons with skills that, like, so I guess the sword it was a sword that you put on, or was it an accessory that you put on that increased your combos?
I don't fully remember. No, it had to have been an accessory because I had it from different weapon to different weapon. It wasn't coming from a weapon.
Okay, maybe it was an accessory.
It was an accessory of some kind.
So yeah, you notice that all the weapons have skills on them, right? And you learn them.
Yeah, maybe it was a weapon skill.
Okay, so maybe when it's just a skill menu and you turn that on. So that was the combo plus skill. But then you can get the combo plus 2 skill.
Oh,
and I think at the end, I'm not sure, but I think it has combo plus 3, and it's even better than you think because combo plus 2 doesn't just do another hit; it's another 2 hits, and 3 would be another 3 hits, and boom, suddenly you're doing like 9 hits in a combo, and then throwing a special move at the end of it. Kind of cool.
That is pretty nuts.
Yeah. So if you find all the stuff, it kind of rewards you a little bit in that, but. My God, you gotta freaking try stuff out. We did. It sounds like we did the lazy thing, which is just add more hits to the base combo and just mash the circle button, which is what I did too. But if you go on if you go on YouTube or whatever, people like choose certain skills and put them on in awesome combinations and then do crazy combos that I don't know how they're doing.
Yeah, there's impressive. A lot. I noticed that there were a whole lot. Like, I was earning skills, like, every other battle. It was like, skill unlocked. Like, this whole thing. I was like, oh, my God, I can't keep up with this. Yeah. And then not only that, the game would just, like, there was a conveyor belt of new weapons coming your way every time. Like, I just fucking got a weapon for everyone. Right? And now I got 3 more weapons that have, like, 200 more points of damage on him. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So, okay, let's go into my next question because that's it right there. How is the exploration? Like I mentioned in my segment, the treasure chests are not bad because, in the end, they kind of lose their sparkly nature because there's just more and more and more weapons. It's not impressive anymore. But at least it's freaking a lot of equipment upgrades and not a lot of freaking blueberries or whatever. That's what I always say.
I think you're right. I think your point about the fixed camera actually was kind of a blessing in my opinion because I felt like this could have easily been a game where it's like, what? You didn't look around the corner. And they didn't do that because you don't have to worry about looking around the corner. They look around the corner for you.
Yeah.
So, and it made it easier to explore. I knew what I was looking at. I knew, like, it was a very truncated. Like, towns were tiny, which in my opinion was fine. Like, I knew them to be gigantic and full of, like, NPCs I wasn't going to talk to. So, it was fine the way it was. But it also meant, like, it was easier to just, like, get my bearings and explore a dungeon or a town or whatever.
Yeah, north is always up is kind of nice.
It is nice.
When you have the set camera.
Mm-hmm. It did make encounters, like, sometimes, I think, intentionally tricky, because it's like, whoa, that character's downstream of my viewing angle. I can't see where he is. Let me throw this, like, ring out at him. Oh, he's a little too high. Oh, I got full combat. Like, that was a little dumb. But as far as the treasure chests go, I think that was really nice. There was a nice stream, maybe too much of a stream of weapons and armor. And I know you kind of moved over it, though, is the shopping in the game is kind of monotonous. Like, if you really want to look through all of your options, you have to look through what the vendor is selling. Then you have to look through to see what you can synthesize.
The synthesis menu is insane, yeah.
And then there's all these categories, but hang on. Not every character just uses one weapon, okay? So some characters use 2 weapons.
Yeah.
You gotta look through both menus, and you gotta scroll all the way down. All those, this one's up by 5. Wait, you can't, no, you don't have the thing for that. So you can go back to the shop menu, you could buy it. If you sell this, you get the item, but don't sell any of your weapons, though. And it's just like so... It was so tedious to go through every time I went to a vendor. And then I thought after a while, I was like, wait, I'm getting all these weapons on the field. Should I really be spending this much time trying to get like plus 20 on a weapon when I'm going to find like a dragon tooth out in the dungeon that gives me plus like 60? I don't think so. Yeah. So at some point, I kind of backed off on the synthesis, at least for weapons. Armor seemed to be harder to find out in a dungeon, so I usually got armor. Mm-hmm. And I seem to feel like I was often very squishy. Like if I ever did take a hit, it was like a lot. I was getting hurt pretty bad in this game. I didn't get hit too often though. My allied teammates seemed to be pretty smart about not getting hit, and if I was, free running enough, the AI is really easy to cheese and
yeah. And enemies
them
get
into an attack.
Yeah, enemies get stun locked easily, even bosses.
Oh, yeah.
So if you do a good job,
except when they don't.
Except when they over limit and stuff. Yeah, I know. There's times when they don't.
Except when they have that magical shield that only bosses have.
Yeah, there's that too.
Which goes away sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I never understood.
You have
how
to
that
break
worked.
through it, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what makes it regenerate, but you have to break through it with a certain number of hits or damage.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. But I figured that as much. But I was like, all right, I guess this is a thing. But yeah, whatever. They're bosses. I guess they're harder. The equipment, the inflow of equipment was kind of jarring, but as we were kind of originally saying, that all of the skills that are tied to these things, it's a lot to take in because you learn these skills permanently.
Yes.
And it's like, you fucking figure it out. And they give you this pool of skill points. And it's like, well, dude, I don't know. Plus attack. I don't know.
Plus attack, plus defense. What else do I need? I don't know.
What else is there? And it's like when you're standing, do a back step with the flip. And then you do 2 damage on 3 damage. I'm like, I don't even know how to do this.
So that's the thing, right? So there's all these little tiny, minute little changes that you can make to the movement with all these things.
Yeah.
And when you read it, it's like, I don't know. And when you try it, you'd have to try it a lot, I think, in all different kinds of combinations to figure out what's useful about it. And then but then you go on YouTube and it's like, whoa, so you can do stuff like this. Never would have figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, partially it was me trying to not spend forever in a day on the game, but also partially it is legitimately complicated.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so one thing you never mentioned that I always mention and that I was hoping to hear when I asked you how was the exploration, you never talk about what does it feel like to just run through the woods and stuff and, the environments. Because, I don't know, am I the only person who has the fun is added to when I'm walking through a pretty place? It's just simple as that.
No, I can see that. I don't know. I feel like I'm too prepared for it to be a thing that you get into battle with for me to be in a state of mind where I'm going to enjoy the stroll because it's just going to get interrupted in 2 seconds.
It is, but I don't know. Every time I walked into a new area and you can see lots of stuff in the background and I'd be like, oh, that looks really nice. You didn't really have too much of that, huh?
No, not really. I mean, I guess help is a strong word, but it doesn't help that this is kind of an older game. It looks like a PS3 game. The way the character models animate, especially, they all animate in that sort of
they don't look realistic,
PS2 era rigging where they all sort of pivot on an axis and then hand gesture and pivot back.
Yeah.
It's games don't really animate that way anymore because it's that's a real budget way of doing it. But this game's old. I didn't realize it was 2008. 10 years old, 11 years ago.
You're right. It is pretty old. Yeah, but now that you mentioned that animation thing, though, and it's a way to, to keep the game's budget down, by not having all these realistic, what do you call that, motion captured movements. Does any game really, do most games, particularly do JRPGs, even really need realistic movement like that? I've never.
I don't think it's a requirement. I think it helps. If this game were animated more fluidly with more of a budget toward that direction, I think it would really help my immersion. Maybe I think so.
Okay, maybe I don't know. I don't really I've never cared. I don't know. I just want to see what they look like when they're Well,
I don't know what to say. Portraits are supposed to be for those really detailed portraits during the skits. They could be more of a animated look at their facial expressions, sort of.
Yeah, their facial expressions.
Which I think has helped characterize them for me. But it's a really old school way of doing it. But their development's always 10 years behind, for better or for worse. So this is really a 2003 game.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Just
Okay.
like design aesthetic wise.
Okay, so you've just gone right into my next point. You're amazing at this. How was the voice acting? Did you ever check out the Japanese voices?
I did. So you had sent me an email saying, check out the Japanese voice acting. I said, all right, I will. And then I turned it on, and I was just like, I've never been one to be able to fully appreciate Japanese voice acting because honestly, it could be the worst Japanese voice acting ever. I would have no idea.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Okay, so that's really interesting because you always hear people who don't speak Japanese, like on YouTube and stuff, say, oh, even in Japan, like I've heard people say about, like, say, for example, Star Ocean 4, even in Japanese, the voice acting is not good. And my question is, well, how do you know it's not good?
You don't know. Or in the opposite direction, we're like, well, the Japanese is always better. I'm like, you don't fucking speak Japanese. You don't know.
But I don't know. I mean, there's still like the emotion, like you read it and then you hear
Sure.
it and you kind of put it together in your head. And I guess that just makes it awesome in some way, depending on how you do it in your head, I guess. Nothing good to say. Nothing particularly great to say about it, though, huh?
I guess it's just from my like subtitled, even films and whatever. Like they can be like I can get into that headspace, but where I wanted to be for this game was, I don't know. It didn't seem to truck in that circle. But what I did, however, was since I also really didn't like the English voice acting.
Yeah.
Was I just turned all the voice acting off
you can do
and
that.
read it like a book, and I actually liked it a lot. Like the voice acting that I heard in my head in English was
cool, right?
pretty good. Like
Yeah.
the writing in the game, which is what we're kind of dancing around, is not bad.
Yeah, it's
Quite good.
Oh, is it quite good? I thought it was just
I
kind of
think it's
so-so in
actually
English. Okay.
The writing, the delivery is bad.
Okay. Oh, so you were delivering those same words better in your mind.
Yeah, because I was using just better tone of voice, better pauses, less like screechy, annoying delivery. Like I made the women sound like women and not 6-year-olds in my head, and just, whatever made it appeal more to me.
Yeah.
And that did a lot for a story that wasn't really pulling my attention too much, but it definitely did a lot.
Okay. So it's not that's interesting. It's not really the fault of the script so much then.
No, I don't think so at all. I think it was entirely on the probably not great voice acting or the direction, because they used good voice actors.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I don't think the direction was done too well.
I mean, that guy Troy Baker is freaking famous. He must be
great.
good at it, right?
He's done some really incredible roles in usually Western games, but I guess he's done anime too.
Yeah, so I did not like his voice though as Yuri at all. Not much. I mean,
yeah,
it
was very generic.
If you listen, well, if I listen to the Japanese version, my God, on almost all anime and games, I swear, there's a lot of tropes out there, as we know, and there are also a lot of trope voices, voice tones and stuff, and a lot of them are hit. A lot of them are used by this game. Freaking Flynn sounds exactly like the young man who's trying to do the wonderful thing in the world. All the anime boys that are like him sound like that. And freaking Rita in Japanese sounds just like, she's really freaking violent. She keeps punching Carol in the head and stuff.
She really does.
And and she's that like hysterical young girl voice that like lots of animes have. And the same thing with Judith, the beautiful woman kind of I just
they do the same thing in the English voice acting, especially for anime too, because I think that's part of the direction that they give. They want a certain type of delivery because they're looking for a certain like caricature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not to disparage the work of it, but they're looking to fit the character into a mold. And I think they're going. And in total honesty, if I'm reading these things, like certain games from Japan that don't have voice acting, or the ones where I turn it off, I tend to produce voices in my head that do fit into a lot of those same roles.
Okay. So the thing I wanted to say, though, was Yuri does not sound like any voice I've ever heard. He's supposed to be... Would you say his trope is an anti-hero? Is he that? I don't really know.
He is, he ended up being more of that than I realized, but he's definitely a lot more likable than an anti-hero, like Cloud, or something like that. He's not like a badass necessarily. He's pretty nice and considerate, and he's willing to give good advice, and he's patient, and all these other things. So I wouldn't say that he's an anti-hero, which is actually, character-wise, the reason why I thought he was so intriguing, because he was like this sort of father figure, companion, friend,
Carol and stuff,
all these other things. He meant a lot of things to all the other characters that were all otherwise pretty standard.
Just the tropes themselves.
Hero character tropes. But then he went and also had these like anti-hero elements of them, where instead of being the guy who was like, hand-wring about doing the wrong thing, he didn't give a shit at all and just said, "Nah, I'm just going to kill this guy."
Yeah.
And just killed dudes.
He did, yeah.
And he was like a little guilty about it, but not really. He's like, it just had to be done.
Yeah, I
was
decided
like, whoa,
this is
I
my
didn't
path.
think this game was going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn it. I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, I wanted to say his voice. Oh, that's right. Yeah, his personality was really interesting because of what you said. It was different from the usual just badass or anti-hero, because he was a knight before also. So he actually has done the super preppy, clean-cut young man thing himself. And then he stopped doing that and went and did his own thing, which I thought was impressive. Because usually badassy anti-hero types are not the types that could ever, become a policeman or a knight or something first, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, in Japanese, my God, freaking Yuri's voice actor it's unique. His voice sounds unique. It's kind of deep. In all honesty, it sounds a little similar to the Troy Baker voice that he did. But I don't know. Is this just a problem with? I mean, you said it really wasn't a problem with the script itself, because in your head you made it sound good. So, but I don't know. I kept viewing it as a problem of, what, man, Japanese sentences just don't work the same in English. And it's just like what that guy who, I always forget his name, but the guy who translated Final Fantasy 12, the guy who, he said this, that as soon as you translate something from Japanese to English, already you've lost something because they're just different. And so the only way to make it good again is to put something else into it, which is why Final Fantasy 12 is kind of different in Japanese and in English. But the English version is considered to be one of the best localizations in like all of games, right?
That was one of the first times I ever saw a game and where the cutscenes sounded like real people talking. Like it sounded like TV or movie quality scripting. I was like, this is fucking believable.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Cool. Okay. Next question. What kind of RPG battles? Oh, by the way, interesting point. 8-4 Play localized it.
Oh, it's one of their games, huh?
It is, and they also did Tales of Exilia, which I played, and I don't know, yeah, same thing. I thought the thing's voice acting was very mediocre at best, and
I wonder to what degree they had a hand in the voice acting, though. I guess they did. I don't fully know
what a localization company does, yeah,
or what they do. They may just be translating the menus and shit.
And the script, and then somebody else.
I don't know that they're like hiring English voice actors and then directing them.
Yeah,
it might be. I don't know. They're a small team. They're only like 5-6 people.
Okay. Yeah.
But I know for sure they do the menus. They translate all the text, whatever in that regard. But I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they had like input in terms of like the script, like translating the script that the voice actors would receive.
After
kind of thing.
After replaying this game and switching back a few times between Japanese and English voices, and then I forgot the word, remembering how it sounded in Exilia. I want to go out and just say I don't really like 8.4 play localizations. I didn't care for it all that much in English at all. It's all about Japanese Yuri. It's all about all of them. All of them in Japanese sounded pretty cool to me. I have another question about the characters, but let's just wait until later to do that. Okay, next question. You prefer turn-based battles and battles where you can control all the characters. I understand why. What kind of action RPG battle systems have you liked, or what theoretical one could you like? For example, do you like Dark Souls? You do, right?
I do, but you're only controlling one character.
Okay, so is it just the problem that there are lots of other characters? What if it was just Yuri?
I think I have an issue with like AI-controlled characters giving me a sense of loss of control in most instances. And Final Fantasy XII is probably the only game that I can recall that I've played where that loss of control wasn't annoying.
Yeah, because of the back gambits.
Because you actually don't control any of your party directly.
That's true, yeah. Well, you can. You can turn off the gambits and do everything manually.
You could.
Yeah. It's a lot of button presses for a really, really, really long game.
for no reason at all, yeah.
Repetitive game, too. So, yeah, you'd just be pressing X a lot.
Cow. Couldn't imagine.
Okay. Are there any other?
But
so
as
then
far
action...
as real-time games, gosh.
Even
non-RPGs. None that are coming
non-RPGs.
to mind.
Like, do you like action games in general?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The game that we're going to mention at the end of the show fits that bill.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's what that is.
Okay. Have you played any other action RPGs besides Dark Souls and Demon Souls? Bloodborne?
Yeah, those games. I mean, if we're going to count the Zelda games in this category, I don't know where we're at anymore with this, but...
they're action games, yeah.
Yeah, those are just straight up action games. But like an action role playing game that has like those kinds of like stat limits on them.
Where stats matter, yeah.
Yeah, where stats matter. I tried Kingdom Hearts and I hated it. Yeah. I'm trying to think through. I think I consciously avoided a lot of them because I knew I didn't like them. So that's probably why.
So this is a way. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
So this is the way that I think about a lot of the button mashy type of action RPGs. Like, for example, Kingdom Hearts is a good example. You basically just button mash your way through dudes. I played all of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and yeah, I wasn't really fond of it because of the goddamn level design. But I was okay with the combat system. And I guess really the way I think about it is, when you're playing a turn-based RPG, this is a weird way to think about it now that I reflect on it, but when you play a turn-based RPG, you hit the guy, and then it's their turn and they hit you, and then it's your turn and they hit, and then you hit them. And so I just think of an action RPG as just a sped-up version of that, so I don't care if it's button mashy is what I'm saying. So if you just smack the guy, and then they smack you once, and then you smack the guy, and then they smack you once, I kind of view that as the same thing as just we each took a turn.
Yeah, I think that's usually the mindset that was the mindset I was trying to put myself into, because when I started playing this game and you get that full feel of control of your character and it's all in real time, I was like, why did I get hit there? Like, I get that feeling of like, the movement's very stiff and all these other things. But when I put myself in the right mindset, I was like, okay, I get it. And I basically came to the same conclusion you did. It's just no turns are removed from the turn-based element of combat.
Yeah.
And it's just all folding out in real time. But the problem I have with that is you're one person. They have to delegate the other actions to AI. So if the AI isn't good, or if I didn't like it, or if it's whatever, that changes the experience a lot. Even if the thing that you're doing with the one character is just like a sped up version of turn-based combat, the whole AI component, I feel like, has to be done to my tastes. Otherwise,
I see.
It's not fun for me.
That makes sense. I feel like I should raise my standards after talking to you about this, because it's So the problem for you is that you don't like the loss of control because of AI companions, and the action does need to be better. I would agree with that. Action in action RPGs could be, better, tight. Like, why can't it be like Street Fighter or Mega Man, where it's just these super tight things, tight controls? I don't know. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually what I get out of turn-based games. Those are repetitive as hell, but everything is accounted for. There's the only time I've ever made a mistake is when I buttoned through the menu wrong. Like,
yeah, or you made the wrong decision or something.
Or I made the wrong decision, but that's a tactical mistake. That's the same thing as like, I committed to attacking in this real-time RPG instead of blocking when I knew the guy was about to attack. Like, it's the same sort of, mistake. But there are shades of differences there, and it all depends on the type of turn-based and the way they fold out turns, etc. But I don't know. I always like the turn-based element. I think there's a strategy element there that is preserved, and there are more nuances that you can fold into the combat system. The way that the turns take out, are they round-based? Is there like a turn queue on the top or bottom of the screen somewhere? Is there a way to influence when people take a turn? Those are usually all little sub-mechanics that are in, especially JRPGs. And I think that usually has that's the big draw. When you start getting into that is when I really start getting into a battle system. And these real-time games are all about what you're currently doing. And maybe, the tactical element comes in when you assign certain AI jobs or whatever. But other than that, it's fairly hands-off, and it's more button mashing than I like.
I see what you're saying. In Star Ocean games, particularly, in Star Ocean games, I notice a lot of people. It also has AI companions, but what I notice a lot of people, really impressive people do, is they turn all of the characters off, and so you're controlling the one guy, and the other three are just standing there, right? But the thing is, they're not actually trying to do a solo challenge or anything. What they do, run up with one dude, do some attacks, switch to the other guy real quick through a freaking long-range projectile, and they actually control all four characters during the battle. Amazingly, it's amazing when people can do it. I've tried it. It's amazingly hard to do well, but it's pretty fun.
I mean, I could see that being, if you really want to get into this game, I could see that. Or not this game, right? You were saying this
that was
is
in
for
Star Ocean, but
Star Ocean,
which is a problem in this game. Jesus Christ, they make changing characters and all that a big complicated thing.
I don't think I ever fully figured out how to do it.
Yeah, for one thing, they don't give it to you until you synthesize the moon selector key item yourself. You have to make the item before
I think I didn't do that.
Yeah, before you can switch. And then you have to hit the menu and then press the start button, or on the PlayStation 4 controller, it's the options button or whatever, to switch a character. See, but in Star Ocean games, right in the middle heat of battle, while you're slashing a dude, instantly switch to another dude and start pushing buttons to have them do something. So it's kind of impressive in that way.
Yeah, I don't think that real-time role-playing games are a thing that I couldn't like. I think there's not one that has really fallen with me in the way that I would like, I guess. I guess I don't know what I would like is the answer to that.
Except Dark Souls. We liked that one.
Sure, but that's pretty different. That's more of an action game.
Well, how is it any different from any other action game? I mean, yeah,
there's only one character.
Oh, right.
And,
so, yeah. No. That's the biggest problem for you, really, is the AI companions.
It's the AI companions, and also in that game, it does kind of break down that analogy of the sped up turns, because if you're getting hit in that game, you're doing something wrong. You can always avoid getting hit in that game. Doesn't mean I never get hit. I'm not that great, but it usually is tantamount to a mistake if you've taken a blow, if you've gotten hit at all.
Yeah.
So it's way more tilted in the action game direction. There are stats governing everything. There is that stamina bar that governs your actions.
Yeah.
The way an RPG would. So the link is there for sure. But it's really more of an action game. And I guess that's why that's where my mind goes. I really don't think of it as a role-playing game when I'm playing like into combat. As opposed to this game where it was an action game where I really had to like constantly remind myself, no, this is a role-playing game. Like, he's going to take his next turn, like block, avoid his thing, whatever it is. Don't just keep attacking him.
Yeah. And the controls are worse in this game. Like you mentioned, what the hell is the jump for?
Fuck.
I never used the jump.
Why is it on up? Why is it on up?
Yeah.
Who uses up to jump in any game since like 1992? God. It's so bad. All it does is blow your inputs when you're trying to do a shortcut. All it does. Or if you're trying to free run and you've released the right trigger at the wrong time.
And then you jump.
And you jump. And the other thing was sort of related in combat. You can just whiff attacks like a fucking chump. Like, you can, if you're facing the wrong direction, your character won't turn to face the you have to like turn the character in this weird manual way. And it's, I don't know, something about that. That was like the first thing I noticed. I was like, this is really stiff.
Well,
this feels really stiff.
You mean the character won't turn around so you can block? Because blocking, you don't have to face him. Your back can be facing him for blocking.
To when you attack. So if you're free running around, right, and you're chasing after a dude.
After you push the attack button, he runs up to the enemy and hits them, so he'll face them correctly at that time.
Right, but if you let go of the trigger while you're facing a certain direction and then press attack, you'll just whiff. You have to then press in the left or right direction depending on where they are from you, because then it turns into that linear left-right thing. Then you have to tap that direction for your character to face the direction you want. I've whiffed attacks a lot because of this.
I wonder if you had it set to manual or semi-auto, because semi-auto
What the fuck did I notice that option? I have no fucking idea what that is.
If it's on
manual, I don't
manual,
know that the game ever explained it.
Okay, well, I can explain to you. Yeah, if you're standing far away from the enemy and you just press the attack button, does he just attack right there, or does he run up to the dude and then attack him?
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure I had it on manual.
So what did he do? Did he just attack right there where you're standing?
Right there. Yeah,
that's manual. If you send a semi-auto, they'll close the distance for you, and then hit him.
So is that all they do?
Well, basically, that means that they'll always be at the right. I
thought that had something to do with the arts, the special moves.
Those
it has to do with attack? Oh.
With all of them, right? So they'll always make sure they're in the right range before they do it for you first.
Can you ever tell us this? How did you figure this out?
I guess because I played Star Ocean, which also has semi-auto battle systems, so I guess that's how I knew.
I looked through the tutorials more than once because I've been confused about the battle system more than once, and I don't think it ever fucking explained the difference between manual or semi-auto. I knew auto meant you weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
You set your guy to auto, they just run around, and the camera just pans around the combat.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even end it.
Yeah, you couldn't figure out how to make it go back, right? Me neither.
Oh, my God.
Wait, what's going on?
I guess I'm watching this battle now.
Hope I don't die.
All I can do is pause.
Yup. I know, right?
Oh,
okay.
God, that was silly.
Okay, so that's all we need to say about the battle system, I think. It could use some improvements. Okay, and just the last thing. No. Yes, last thing. Yes, last thing. What did you think about? I mean, you mentioned it. You said the characters felt thin and had weak motives, and they're also tropey for sure, right? They used tropes,
kind of
and I agree they did. But there are some tropes that I thought were kind of awesome. Two even. One of them that comes to mind that I never liked, which is in a lot of RPGs, is the little kid who's in the party all the time. Every game has it, like the one who's like only 12 years old, right? And
sure,
for whatever reason, they all have like slightly different personalities. But in this case, I'm talking about Carol, right? Freaking Carol, his whole thing is, I'm going to be like a monster hunter, or I'm going to make my own guild was his thing. I'm going to make my own guild.
Right.
It's going to be awesome. And he always wanted to do this. And, when I first saw it and saw how it was going, I was like, okay, so this is just going to be the classic situation. Like in Final Fantasy 13 and Hope, that young boy Hope, right? Where, like, they're weak. The strong character teaches them how to be stronger, and their whole development is, I got strong, right? But
yeah.
I liked his one a lot, though, because, I don't know, he had a whole lot of personality, I thought, with the whole I love guilds thing. And, they bring out the whole, they make a big deal about guilds in the story. And he was born in that town, Dongrest, where the dude who runs the town is also the dude he's called the Don of all the guilds. He's like created the guild union or whatever, and there are like 5 guilds that run all the other guilds or whatever, had this union. And yeah, it's like the guild city. We don't accept any help from the empire, no matter what kind of way of life. And Carol was just like on board with this guy. Like, oh my God, the Dawn is the best. I watched all like the skits and stuff, which are actually good and cool in Japanese. And he's like, oh my God, man, freaking the Dawn is the best. I love that guy. And Reach would get pissed off and he'd be like, how come you're acting like you're so prideful? You didn't do anything. And then, the story goes on. By the way, merciless mega spoilers coming up. The story goes on, and freaking you make a guild with Yuri, and he names it Brave Vesperia, the name of the freaking Evening Star and the name of the game. Freaking awesome. Then it keeps going on.
I thought that was cool.
Right?
I thought that was a cool turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Then he goes on, and freaking the Dawn, to like honor his way of life, commits seppuku.
Oh yeah.
Right? And freaking that was the time, I expected there would be lots of times where Carol's going to do like the quote unquote emo thing where you just start yelling or crying about how life is hard. But no, man, he waited until a very worthwhile time when the Dawn died, his hero of all time. And he's like, oh, I gotta fall, after Yuri, makes him, come on, we're going. He decided, okay, I gotta do what the Dawn would do. I gotta think how the Dawn would think. I want to be like the Dawn was, and he keeps trying to do that. And also, you find out later on from the girl that he likes, Nan, and from that group, what's it called in English? The Hunting Blades? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You find out that freaking Carol, who's like 12 years old, little boy, he's been in like 1 million guilds already, but he kept getting kicked out because he'd run away when he got too scared. And I don't know. I kind of felt like the whole package and the whole trope of the young kid on the adventure with all the strong characters who goes through the getting strong development phase trope was super solid and good. That's what I thought. You didn't think so, huh? I mean, you didn't see the whole thing.
I didn't see his character's like resolution, but I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't like on my wavelength. I guess in the same way that like the Shin Megami Tensei stuff, like the sort of frankly very depressing and like nihilistic theological crap that everyone was talking about in Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne probably had no appeal to you.
Yeah, I guess I see.
Some of that stuff I was actually kind of hanging on to. I was like, like I was like kind of interested to see where a couple of those characters were headed, and there was some interesting character development there, but that's just the kind of shit that speaks to me. This kind of like
I see
weird, introspective, dark, dour, nihilistic crap.
Man.
stuff that will generally like get my attention is that stuff, as opposed to, and it's not always, because there are games on my list that are not this at all.
Like your favorite game ever is not that, right?
Yeah, it's not that at all. So there are exceptions to that, but I'm not sure why those exceptions apply even. I don't know if it's any logical reason, if there was just time and place where I just have memories of this game or whatever, but for the most part, I'm not generally very receptive to that. It just feels like I've seen it before. I know where it's going. I'm not getting any interesting things out of it myself. It probably is done very well, for all I know. I've probably been paying a hell of a lot of attention to it. Like, Yuri's story is the thing that really caught my attention this time around.
Yeah, definitely.
And Raven to a lesser degree, but still, he also had some interesting little wrinkles in there. The character I thought you were going to mention was Patty, the pirate girl.
I was going to mention her too.
I didn't know what the fuck was up with her for the longest time.
So
I was like, what?
Let me tell you, dude. Yeah, let me tell you all the fun spoilers. Since you don't want to do it yourself, you can at least get
go for it.
The fun part out of the way here. Raven, his cool spoiler, the dude's a freaking knight captain in like all this time. Even though he worked for the Dawn, he was actually a knight captain, so he was like a spy sort of. But the Dawn knew it, and the Dawn was actually like forcing him to be a spy. You know, it's kind of complicated, but I thought it was kind of cool. Yeah, that the Dawn like saved his life one time or something, or tried to kill him or something. That's right. He was, as a knight, he was sent to assassinate the Dawn. He failed, and the Dawn, instead of killing him, forced him to be his own like spy.
Gotcha.
You know, so because he has access to the knights, being a knight captain, and the way that even though it turns out Raven didn't actually want to, you know, go on a mission to kill the Dawn and all that, but he had to do it anyway, and he was forced to because, get this, he actually died in the freaking war with the Entelekea, like however many years ago it was, 20 or 30 or 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And freaking Alexei brought him back to life by installing a Blastia into where his heart would have been. And he can shut it off whenever he wants. So he has to do whatever Alexei wants.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And so, but at the very end, did you not see, doesn't that happen in Baktion, though? You called it Baktion. Didn't it happen there where he freaking, Alexei, like, bombs these ruins, those ruins that we were in that you mentioned, Baktion or whatever. And then it's like, crap, we got to get out of here. And Raven's like, yeah, the freaking dude, he's just planning to bury you guys here, and me along with you. But then, like,
I think I was in the middle of that dungeon, so I must not have left there and saw the resolution for that space.
Yeah, so the Raven scene is like right there. He freaking like saves everybody when like a gigantic rock is falling down. He like holds it up and like says, "Get the hell out of here!" And then everybody leaves, and then the whole place crumbles. Raven should have died, but he got out. And he shows up later, and everybody punches him in the face for making them think that he was dead. So that was kind of fun.
Although I will say, is he's actually supposed to be old, or is he like anime old where 32 is like old man?
You know, I'm thinking he might actually be anime old, even though that means
he looks like he's like in his 30s, maybe his 40s. Everyone's like incessantly calling him an old man. I'm like,
I know, right?
Doesn't look that old.
And in
he doesn't
Japanese,
have gray hair.
Yeah, and in Japanese, he keeps referring him to himself as an old man or a grandpa too.
I think it's like the anime thing where if you're 20, you're like an adult.
Yep.
If you're 30 something,
your grandmother
on fucking death's door. You have seen all the shit there is ever to see.
Yeah,
like,
I know, right? Yeah, so that was.
And if you're 12, you're 20.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the cool stuff with Raven, and then this is gonna blow your mind about Patty, not her thing, but freaking what they did to the game, because she was not in the original Xbox version that came out, yo. All those scenes, yeah, like they didn't just add some side quests at the end. All those scenes that have Patty were not in there. They put those in, and like the ghost ship dungeon, I guess, also. Then I would assume all that is extra and new to this version, even though it's like she's in the story from like nearly the beginning. She wasn't in there originally.
Now I'm trying to think of it. You could pretty neatly remove her from all the events, though, if you just took everything that she talked about out of there.
You could, right? Yeah. And so
take her right out.
Yeah. And so her thing is, her spoiler is that, you know, she keeps going around saying, I'm the granddaughter of Ifrid, right?
Right.
Turns out she's Ifrid.
I fucking, as soon as you were going to say that, I was like, I think she's actually the one. Yep.
Yeah. And
didn't occur to me until just now.
The first time I played it all in Japanese with even the text was in Japanese back then, I misunderstood it, her spoiler. I thought that she was Ifrid and that she killed all those people back in the what was the name of that incident? It had a cool name, but that incident.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. But no, it wasn't her that did it. So I was like, really, whoa, that's dark. That's epic. She's the freaking killer who killed like the greatest massacre in the history of this game's world. Holy crap. But no, her freaking first mate, a Cypher, did it. Yeah, it wasn't actually her herself. And what happened was they all got like experimented upon, and because of this, like her whole crew got turned into beasts or monsters or whatever. And so Cypher killed them all, and then, but because, you know, they were like turning into beasts. But then he like spared her by, I guess, using the Maris Stella treasure or something. He used whatever magical thing he had, and what happened was instead of her getting out scot-free, she got turned back into a kid. So she's like, she still like knows how to fight, and she's still not scared of anything that she wasn't afraid of when she was an adult, but she's like 12 years old, and so she talks like she's 12. That was interesting.
This is a very common trope, in particular, the turned back into a child thing.
Well,
it happens a lot.
I guess so. So the thing I wanted to say was, in her case, amnesiacs are a common trope. But being the pirate captain who killed 100 people, members of her own freaking guild, and the whole world is freaking frowning upon you because you turned on your own guild, and that is just unthinkable in this world. I thought that was awesome, although it turned out it wasn't her, it was her first mate. Okay.
And it's funny that she was going after her grandfather, right?
She thought it was her grandfather, but it was her, right?
But wouldn't have everyone told her, no, this person was a woman?
Well, did she
ever? That never happened.
Well, did she ever? Oh.
Wasn't this a world famous, like, pirate?
Well, did she say grandfather, or did she say, I'm the I think she might have actually said, I'm the granddaughter of Ifrit. Maybe that's how they got around it.
Maybe I was just reading into it. Yeah, I think you're right.
I think, that's how they, you assume the pirate captain is
right.
a dude.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Right, yeah. I think she actually said the word grandfather.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool in my opinion.
Interesting.
Okay, so that's all the tropes, though. I mean, that's not all of them, but those are the two that stood out to me.
Yeah, those are the two.
Okay, I think I've asked you everything I want to ask you about this game. Anything you want to ask me?
No, I think we covered it all.
Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and take some games off of the list that I have for you in the future, because I mean, right? There's no use in torching you if I know you're not gonna like all these action-y battle systems with AI companions. So I think I'll remove a couple.
Well, leave them marked for now. We'll go over them.
Okay.
We'll see what they are.
All right.
All right.
So that does it for episode, what is this, 14?
14.
Of Turn-Based Memories. Can't believe we're still going. So now all that's left is to talk about the next game on the list that Mel is going to assign to me. Because I have never played
this is a wonderful game. I don't quite remember offhand the year that came out, but I'm going to say about 3 years ago.
Okay.
An indie game that already has a spiritual successor in the works. I don't remember. It's not out yet, but I don't remember the name of it. The game that we will be playing is Hyper Light Drifter. For the people who know it or who have already played it, this fits in pretty loosely under the role-playing game criteria, but I feel like it does operate as an action role-playing game. There is just in the same way that a game like, Zelda or Dark Souls would.
Okay.
It is a 2D semi-top-down isometric perspective indie game. And I'll let Zoltan discover the rest of it, but for clarity's sake, how much of this are you aware of beforehand?
I've only heard the name, and I heard that it's pretty good.
Gotcha.
So I hope
all right,
that's true.
so basically, No
Basically
prior
nothing.
exposure. Right.
Yeah. Does it have
That's
stats? Just that one thing. Does it have stats that you level up or no? Is that a
if they
complicated
do, I
question?
don't remember.
Okay. All
If
right.
they
I'll
do, I
find
don't
out.
remember. I think there are maybe like a couple things. It's a really interesting game. I don't want to describe it. I mean, I could go on and give some like basic descriptions that aren't really spoilers, but
No.
I
Don't
think,
need to do that.
I think we'll leave it all up to your discovery. And this is a much quicker game than these
90-hour
marathon role-playing
Jesus
extravaganzas. So if ever there was a time to look for an upload 1 month from now, it's probably this time.
I'll do my best.
Because I think you'll do fine.
Okay.
I think you'll be able to do it, given what we've said before the episode. So yes, look forward to that.
All right. Thank you very much, Mel. Thank you very much for thank you very much to all of you, the audience, listening to this. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, you can subscribe to know when we freaking upload it. No schedule, but like we said, we go for once a month. It's kind of rare, but that's what we go for.
Last couple times it's been more like 2, but you know.
But hey, we're dudes with jobs, and I got kids, so can't be helped. And I live in Japan. You may not know this, guys, but just life in Japan is like you could have like the exact same job in America. Totally gonna be way more busy. I don't know what it is.
You know, this is only 12 hours in the Japanese day.
That's right. And 11 of them are on the clock. So, you know, that's why I don't have time. Okay. So yeah, definitely if you know any people who like RPGs and turn-based RPGs, even though this one and probably the next one, neither of them are turn-based, go ahead and share it to all your friends on Facebook and Twitter and all the other ones. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, everyone. Good night.
See you guys.